All right, today we're tackling something pretty heavy. We're diving headfirst into the dark, complex world of the Wille mythos. And specifically, we're going to trace the brutal, calculated rise of its central figure, Wotan. And let's be super clear about something right from the start. This isn't your typical hero's journey, climbing up to some heavenly throne. No, this is the exact opposite. It's a calculated descent into the foundational chaos of the universe. It's all about tearing reality apart just to get at something more real, something frankly terrifying.
Okay, so how are we going to break this down? Here's our roadmap. We're going to follow Wotan's transformation through six, let's call them distinct and pretty disturbing stages of his rise to power.
All right, first stop, from hero to overman. So where does a journey this intense even begin? Well, for Wotan, it all starts with tearing down everything the old world stands for. He looks at the traditional idea of a hero, honor, duty, all that stuff, and he doesn't see virtue. He sees a cage, a beautiful gilded cage, but a cage nonetheless.
And you can really see that contrast right here. On the one hand, you've got the old heroic ideal. It's all about honor, order, this idea that your fate is already written for you. But then look at the other side. That's Wotan's new reality. It's a world built on chaos and defined by just one thing, what the mythos calls de Wille, the will to power. Basically, the absolute undeniable power of your own individual will. And this gets us to a really crucial idea. For Wotan, the world is dying. And to survive a dying world, you can't be a hero. The hero has to die. He has to be sacrificed, completely burned away, so that from those ashes, something new can rise. And that something is the Overman. So you might be thinking, this guy just sounds like a villain, right? Destroying things for the fun of it. But that's not how he sees it. In his mind, he's a visionary. He's not destroying the world. He's just acknowledging that it's already dead. It's a corpse, and everyone else is just pretending it isn't. And this realization, this shift in his mind, is so powerful, it literally starts to bend and warp the world around him. Which brings us to our next stage. The world becomes uncanny. Because as Wotan's mind changes, the world itself can't stay the same. It starts to reflect his internal shift. The physical landscape of the 1800s literally begins to buckle under the weight of his new consciousness. So what does that look like? Well, suddenly the world just loses its footing. All the old rules, the physical and moral anchors, they're gone. And this new hostile reality has three key features. First, everything feels like it has a malevolent purpose, like the very streets are against you. Second, the material world starts to fragment, to fall apart. And third, and this is the really wild part, the line between Wotan's mind and the outside world just evaporates. And this quote really nails it. For the average person, the last man, this looks like pure insanity. But for Wotan, it's the first real glimpse of the truth. You see, the uncanny isn't a ghost story. There are no monsters hiding in the closet. The terrifying thing is realizing the world has just become a giant mirror for your own will. Okay, so the environment itself is twisted and broken, but that's just setting the stage. Now comes the main event, rewriting the very code of the soul using a new and totally forbidden alphabet. So you've probably heard of runes, right? The old ones were all about naming things, bringing order, categorizing the world. Well, these mad runes, they're the opposite. Think of them as linguistic weapons. They're fractured symbols designed not to define the world, but to undefine it, to deconstruct it, to tear it all down. And just to be clear, we're not talking about him sitting at a desk studying. This is brutally physical. He carves these symbols into his own flesh. It's a physical act of corruption, of rewriting his own being. With every cut, he's literally bleeding out what he sees as human weakness. Pity, fear, the need for anyone else's approval, it's all gotta go. So why? What's the point of all this pain? The benefit? Authority. By rewriting his own internal logic, he gives himself permission to simply ignore the laws of physics, of morality, of a universe that he's already decided is a corpse. And that, right there, is what lets him tap into the raw, untamed power of the void. And that brings us to the power he unlocks. Section 4, wielding chaos magic. This power is often described as a kind of divine lightning. But again, don't think of this like spells from a book. It's not a tool you use, it's a state of being you inhabit. This divine lightning just shatters what the mythos calls the enlightenment filter, that neat, orderly, rational view of reality. It replaces pure reason with a raw awareness of the frenzy that's always bubbling just under the surface. And it comes directly from Wotan's own shattered mind.
Okay, so once you've mastered that kind of raw power, it leads to a whole new state of mind. And that's our fifth stage, the fire of fervor. This is basically the mythos's answer, its ultimate antidote to the apathy and weakness of the modern world.
And wow, look at this contrast. You've got the last man on one side, stagnant, apathetic, always looking for someone else to tell them they're okay. And then you have the king's fervor. It's described as a permanent storm inside him, an infinite furnace. All that vitality, all that energy is generated completely from within.
But here's the catch, and it's a big one. This state of fervor isn't something you just achieve. It's not static. It requires constant self-destruction. To keep that internal storm raging, to fuel that creative fire, he has to perpetually burn away the person he was yesterday, every single day.
So you take all of it, the rejection of the hero, the twisted world, the bloody runes, that burning internal fire, and you put it all together. And what do you get? You get the final stage, the synthesis, the crowning of the Mad Rune King. So let's break that title down. Why Mad Rune King? Well, mad is pretty straightforward. He's taken all that chaos that the old heroes were terrified of, and he's internalized it. He's made it part of him. And king? That's not about bloodline or divine right. He is a king simply because his will is strong enough to command the chaos. He is sovereign because he says he is. And this is maybe his greatest trick. He looks at the universe, sees it's all a meaningless cosmic joke, and he doesn't cry about it. He doesn't fall into despair. No. He decides he's going to lead the dance. He takes that meaninglessness and turns it into a weapon. He's the one telling the joke now.
But there's a price. There's always a price. This quote really gets at the tragic part of his victory. He gets everything he wanted, absolute power, the ability to shape reality. But it costs him everything else. All human connection is severed. He's a god king, sure, but he's ruling a world that literally no one else can even perceive.
And yet, and this is the final twist, that horrific absolute isolation, that's his greatest strength. It's the ultimate proof that he's overcome his own humanity. It's the source of his infinite power. He doesn't need anyone. He doesn't need anything. He is the lightning that strikes the tower. And that's where we're left, with this really unsettling question at the heart of the whole mythos. Wotan wins. His victory is total. His power, absolute. But when you look at what he paid for it, that terrible, profound loneliness, you have to ask yourself, was it worth it?